Today on BRStv we're featuring dry rock. We're going to go over a few different topics, including why it's become so popular in the last few years, which type of rock you may be looking for, as well as how to get your tank started using it. So the first couple of questions we want to answer is what is dry rock and why would you want to use it? Most of our dry rock is just live rock that was allowed to dry out. The one exception being the Reef Saver rock, which is actually just an ancient reef, and now the rock is being dug up out of the ground. So why would you want to use it? Well, it's cheaper, it's easier to work with, and it doesn't come with any of the pests that live rock comes with. So dry rock's going to be a small fraction of the cost of live rock for four basic reasons. The actual cost of the rock is much lower. You don't have to pay for expensive overnight shipping. You also don't have to pay for the water weight within the rock because it is dry. And when you order 44 pounds of rock, you actually get 44 pounds of rock. With live rock, it's very common to order a box of rock that says it weighs 44 pounds. But what this really is a gross weight, meaning when it left its country of origin, with the box, water weight, and rubble, it weighed 44 pounds. By the time it gets to you and you remove the actual rock, it could be 35 pounds or less. All these things combined can make dry rock cost a third or even less than most live rock orders. Dry rock is also way easier to work with. You can chop it in half, you can break it, stack it, epoxy it, drill it, do whatever you want, take all day long. In fact, you can stop in the middle of the day, come back to it next week without worrying about getting it back into water or without the wet sloppy mess and the stench. The overall aquascaping is almost always going to be better because you can take your time. Because a rock does come to you dry, it doesn't have any of the funky pests that live rock has, like bubble algae, aptasia, coral parasites, any number of things that could make you want to shut down your tank once they completely take over. Now, this doesn't mean that there aren't other ways that these things could be introduced to your tank, but it does mean if you use dry rock to begin with and you're careful about the things you do put in the tank, it makes it much less likely. So we're commonly asked, which rock should I get? It's a real difficult question to ask because frankly, all of the rocks are really popular and they're all going to be better than another for different reasons. However, there are some things I'd like to point out. So the first rock I want to go over is the Pukani. The Pukani is going to be the customer favorite for a couple of reasons. The first one is it's extremely light and porous, which means you get more rock for your money. All three types of rocks that are on this table are 12.5 pounds. You can see how much bigger this rock really is, making it a really good value. The structure of the rock is also astounding. There's just tons of nooks and crannies all over the rock, making coral placement very easy and tons of places for livestock to hide. This is really just a fantastic type of rock. This is the Reef Saver rock, and it's the easiest rock to aquascape that I've ever found, which makes it my personal favorite rock. You can see that it's filled with a tremendous amount of holes, similar to the Pukani. The difference here is the rock was mined from an ancient underground reef, and the holes are created by low pH aquifers that flow through the rock. The Reef Saver is considerably more dense and heavy, however the unique shape allows for some really unique aquascaping. The edges lock together almost like Lincoln logs, which means you can create some really cool structures with stacking alone. And the stacking doesn't look like a pile of rocks. The structure looks almost seamless, and you can't see where one piece ends and the other begins. Because the Reef Saver rock comes out of the ground and pressure washed, it is also the cleanest of all the rocks we offer. Last but not least, because it does come out of the ground and not out of the ocean, it's a product you can feel good about using because it doesn't impact any reef habitat and it ensures that the hobby will be around for future generations. This is the Fiji dry rock we sell. Fiji is pretty much the standard of reef keeping and what makes up a vast majority of the live rock sold. So if you already have some rock and you're looking to supplement it, Fiji is going to be a really good option because it will maintain the same style and look. Many customers also appreciate the smoother, rounder shape of Fiji. And it's really an aesthetic thing. Lastly, we have the shelf and branch rock. These are going to be more of a specialty rock purchased to accompany other types of rock. They can help you create aquascapes that otherwise would be impossible. They are very dense and heavy and may be more difficult to incorporate into aquascapes, so you may want to order more than you think you need so you have a few options. So the last question we need to answer is, how do you properly cure and cycle dry rock? Well, most of it does come out of the ocean, so it's going to have some amount of dead material on the outside of the rock. So we're going to recommend that you cure it in the same way that you would cure uncured live rock, which means soaking it for a few weeks in heated salt water with circulation. If it builds up a smell, throw a bag of carbon in the bin and that should take care of it. After curing, you can go ahead and add the rock to your tank with fresh salt water and cycle like you would any other rock. This typically means adding a hardy fish like a clownfish and testing for nitrite and ammonia until they both reach 0. This typically takes about 4 weeks. During this time, we recommend that you keep the lights off. This will allow the rock time to form a biofilm over the surface, which will make it harder for algae to attach. If you are interested in being notified when we make new additions to BRStv, you can sign up for our newsletter found on almost every product page. You can also log into your account and hit the Newsletter Subscriptions tab.